It was a moonless night when I found myself standing at the entrance of the desolate graveyard. The air was heavy with an eerie silence, broken only by the distant hooting of an owl. I had come here with the intention of paying my respects to my deceased relatives, but little did I know that this visit would turn into a horrifying nightmare. As I cautiously stepped into the graveyard, a chill ran down my spine. The tombstones stood like silent sentinels, their weathered inscriptions barely visible in the darkness. The wind whispered through the trees, creating an unsettling melody that sent shivers down my spine. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing heart, and began making my way towards the graves of my loved ones. The graveyard seemed to stretch on forever, with rows upon rows of tombstones disappearing into the blackness. The ground beneath my feet felt cold and damp, as if it were absorbing the sorrow and despair of the souls resting beneath. I could feel their presence, their spirits lingering in the air, and a sense of unease settled in the pit of my stomach. As I approached the graves, a low growl echoed through the graveyard. My blood ran cold, and I froze in my tracks. I strained my eyes to see through the darkness, and that's when I saw it, a pair of glowing red eyes staring back at me from behind a tombstone. Fear gripped me, and I felt a surge of adrenaline coursing through my veins. I knew I had to get out of there, but I couldn't let the demon see me. I crouched down, trying to make myself as small as possible, and slowly began to back away. Every step I took felt like an eternity, the demon's growls growing louder with each passing moment. I prayed that it wouldn't notice me, that I could escape its clutches. Just as I thought I had made it to safety, a twig snapped beneath my foot. The sound echoed through the graveyard, alerting the demon to my presence. Its growls turned into a menacing snarl, and it lunged towards me with lightning speed. Panic consumed me, and I sprinted towards the exit, my heart pounding in my chest. But the demon was faster. It caught up to me in an instant, its claws grazing my back. I cried out in pain, feeling the sting of its touch. I could hear its heavy breathing, its hot breath on the back of my neck. I knew I couldn't outrun it, so I made a split-second decision. I veered off the path, darting between the tombstones in an attempt to lose the demon. The graveyard became a maze of darkness, my heart pounding in my ears. I could hear the demon's growls growing fainter, and I thought I had finally escaped its clutches. But just as I let out a sigh of relief, it found me. The demon's claws dug into my shoulder, its grip tightening with every passing second. I screamed in agony, feeling its sharp nails piercing through my flesh. I fought back with all my strength, desperately trying to break free, but the demon was relentless, its grip unyielding. Just when I thought all hope was lost, a blinding light erupted from the sky. The demon screeched in pain, releasing its hold on me. I stumbled backward, gasping for breath as the light engulfed the graveyard. When it finally faded, the demon was gone, leaving me battered and shaken. I stumbled out of the graveyard, my body trembling with fear and exhaustion. The experience had scarred me, leaving me with a deep-rooted fear of the supernatural. I had come to pay my respects to my deceased relatives, but instead, I had encountered a demon that had tried to claim me as its own. To this day, I cannot forget the horrors I witnessed in that graveyard. The memory haunts my dreams, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurks in the shadows. I have learned the hard way that some places are better left undisturbed, and that the line between the living and the dead is not as clear as we may think. It was a dark and stormy night when my uncle approached me with an offer that seemed too good to be true. He was going on a week-long vacation and needed someone to watch over his house. Being a broke college student, the idea of making some quick cash was too tempting to pass up. Little did I know that this decision would lead me into a nightmare that would haunt me for the rest of my life. My uncle's house was a grand mansion, tucked away in a secluded area. It had always given me an eerie feeling, but I brushed it off as mere superstition. As my uncle handed me the keys and explained the security system, I felt a sense of responsibility wash over me. I was determined to prove myself and earn the money he had promised. The first few days went by without any incident. I spent my time exploring the house, getting familiar with the security cameras, and making sure everything was in order. The nights were particularly quiet, with only the sound of the wind howling outside. I found solace in the fact that I was safe and secure within the confines of the house. However, on the fourth night, everything changed. I was sitting in the control room, monitoring the security cameras, when I noticed a flicker on one of the screens. My heart skipped a beat as I saw a figure lurking in the shadows of the living room. Panic set in as I realized that someone had breached the security of the house. I quickly grabbed my phone and dialed 911, my hands trembling with fear. As I waited for the police to arrive, I kept a close eye on the security cameras, hoping to catch a glimpse of the intruder. Minutes felt like hours as I watched the figure move stealthily through the house, their face obscured by a hoodie. Suddenly, the power went out, plunging the house into darkness. My heart raced as I fumbled for a flashlight, desperately trying to regain control of the situation. The sound of footsteps echoed through the house, growing louder with each passing second. I could feel the intruder getting closer, their presence suffocating me. With a surge of adrenaline, I made a split-second decision. I ran towards the basement, hoping to find a way out or at least a hiding spot. As I descended the stairs, I could hear the intruder's heavy breathing behind me. I knew I had to act fast if I wanted to survive. In the dim light of the basement, I stumbled upon an old storage room. I locked the door behind me, praying that it would buy me enough time. The sound of the intruder's footsteps grew louder, and I could hear them pounding against the door.
Fear consumed me as I realized that my life was hanging by a thread. Just when I thought all hope was lost, I heard the sirens of the police approaching.
The intruder, realizing that their time was up, fled from the house, leaving me shaken and traumatized. The police arrived moments later, their presence bringing a sense of relief and safety. The police searched the entire house, but the hoodie figure was nowhere to be found. It was as if they had vanished into thin air. The officers assured me that they would continue their investigation, but deep down, I knew that the chances of catching the intruder were slim. In the days that followed, I couldn't shake off the feeling of being watched. Every creak of the floorboards, every gust of wind sent shivers down my spine. I couldn't sleep, haunted by the image of the hoodie figure lurking in the darkness. I became paranoid, constantly looking over my shoulder, fearing that they would return. Months passed, and life slowly returned to normal. But the memory of that horrifying night still lingered in the back of my mind. I became obsessed with security, installing cameras and alarms in my own apartment. I couldn't bear the thought of being vulnerable again. To this day, I wonder who that hoodie figure was and what their intentions were. Was it a random act of violence, or was there a deeper motive? The unanswered questions continue to haunt me, a constant reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the most unexpected places. I learned a valuable lesson from that experience, that no amount of money is worth sacrificing your safety and peace of mind. The horror I endured in my uncle's house will forever be etched in my memory, a chilling reminder of the fragility of life and the evil that can exist in the world.